So we'll move from selections post-mortem, and again, it will weave its way through the rest of this episode 193, as we're doing a supersized 2 episodes worth. As was breaking last week with Clyde Lewis of GroundZeroMedia.org in the studio with us, we saw it bubbling up, and again, you can see these things turn into events, the event, if you will. I was having a conversation with someone at work, and again, that's what's great about using the social networking portals that everybody's on. I basically use it to try and spread information. So fortunately, I get folks coming up saying, what was that post about printer bombs or something? So I was able to break it down quickly and say that now you should always be suspicious when these things turn into events that get their own logos and music and the news switches into 24/7. Manufactured toner bomb hysteria to revive Obama's war of terror. Lee Rogers of RogueGovernment.com breaks down the toner terror threataganda being pushed by Western powers, but we'll take the text from Kurt Nimmo. Once again, according to the government and compliant corporate media, Muslim cave dwellers are attempting to kill us because they hate our freedom. Last week, the airwaves and internet were besieged with a fabulous story of al-Qaeda miscreants in Yemen attempting to send toner cartridge bombs to synagogues in Chicago. The packages from Yemen contain chemical explosives camouflaged as printer cartridges and wired to be detonated by a cell phone, and were found in Dubai and England on Friday only after the U.S. received a tip from Saudi Arabia, thus reported the LA Times. In response, of course, bureaucrats said we'll have to get used to more obtrusive airport pat-downs and screening of incoming foreign parcels using a network of government-certified private screeners and companies, as well as its own inspectors at about 18 gateway airports around the country. That, according to the TSA. Terror is a growth industry, undoubtedly. But if we wait a minute, there's a problem with all of this, and as usual, the government has not done a very good job of making the latest al-CIA plot credible, at least not for people who bother to pay attention. According to Mohammed al-Shabah, air cargo director for Yemenia Airways, quote, there is no evidence to prove that this package came through Yemen, end quote. He said there were no UPS or DHL cargo flights from Yemen within a 48-hour period prior to the supposed terror attack. Naturally, using a news search on Mohammed al-Shabah, produced no results from the usual suspects of the corporate Mockingbird media. Never mind, nothing to see here. Please move along. If you follow the links contained within this story, you'll get videos, you'll get Yemen Post, you'll get Of Goats and Men, you'll get National Terror Alert, you'll get CBS, InfoWars, again, RogueGovernment.com. You'll see how this story developed that initially started out of authorities saying, well, this is no big deal. But of course, Obama wasted no time calling a press conference and saying, boogie boogie, just like Bush did. A little pre-election psyops, methinks. We'll take the clip that'll break down the toner paranoia as well as the groping, the DNA-destroying naked body scanners, or we will molest you. We'll literally have you by the balls. And when you're taking all of this in, we want you to remember, you're more likely to die by cop than by terror.
You're watching breaking news from WCCO.
Hello, I'm Mike Binkley. Thanks for joining us today. We're actually following a couple of breaking stories right now. The first involves UPS cargo planes being swept for explosives in Philadelphia, Newark, and London, perhaps in New York as well. This is a look at Philadelphia right here. The planes have all been moved to remote locations so law enforcement officials can safely investigate. Now, what started this all was in the UK, officials found a toner cartridge with wires and powder during a routine screening earlier today. That package reportedly came from Yemen, and that caused an alert for other planes, especially here in the U.S. Recent intelligence reports have pointed to cargo planes as a possible terror target. Now, Holly Wagner is live at our airport, and Holly, first of all, I know you've talked with officials here about what's happening in these other airports.
Yeah, I just spoke with Patrick Hogan with the airport here. He tells me there is nothing unusual or out of the ordinary going on at our airport. We've been here for a majority of the morning, Mike, and we haven't seen anything out of the ordinary. I also put a phone call in to TSA. They are the ones that handle cargo here at Minneapolis-St. Paul International, and we're waiting for a call back from them.
All right, but in the meantime, security was already changing today at airports around the country, specifically with the pat-downs, and that's been controversial, as I know you've seen.
Yes, and it is, for some people, a bit uncomfortable. We've seen several people here at the airport go through this new pat-down technique. And what's different about it is instead of using the back of the hand, what they're doing is they're using the front of the hand and sliding it on parts of the body. We want to show you exactly how this has changed. And they're going over parts of the body, including the inner thighs, the chest area, among others, that some people have said makes them uncomfortable. According to TSA, they're using this pat-down method when somebody sets off the metal detector or if they opt out of a body scan. And they're doing this, they say, to detect dangerous items and also anything that might be hidden as far as an explosive. According to TSA, the person that would do the pat-down would be the same sex as the passenger. We did have a chance to talk to men and women about this today, and some like the safety aspect of this, and others feel it's intrusive.
Personally, it makes me feel safe, and like knowing that they're going to be actually checking stuff like that. I've gone into sporting events where I've wondered, like, what if somebody had something in their coat or something like that. So, I think for me, I'd be fine with it. But if I was a young lady, I don't know how I would feel about it.
No, I wouldn't want it. I wouldn't want that done at all. I think that's ridiculous. I would rather be scanned.
I just think it should be the last method used. I think they should use every other method, like full body scan or whatever else, if they need to.
Back out here live at MSP International, we have watched several people go through or get this new pat-down technique done to them. Here's what I can tell you about it. It's done out in the open. We have seen people of the same sex doing the pat-down on the passengers, and we've also noticed that it's very hands-on. And Mike, I can see why some people say that they would feel uncomfortable with this. I watched the guy stand there as the TSA worker put his hand right next to his inner thigh and go all the way down. So you can certainly understand why some people may feel that this is intrusive.
Yeah, and we were wondering if it would be out in the open like that. You said you were able to watch?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, once again, planes have been swept for possible explosives in Philadelphia, Newark, New Jersey, New York, and London. So far, just one suspicious package found in the UK. We're waiting for word on the ones here in the US, and we'll, of course, continue to track.
We'll continue to track the fact that the audio you just listened only gives you a slight inkling of the bizarre nature of that WCCO clip. The very attractive woman who's on location seems legitimately excited by what's going on. It's bizarre, and of course it's just another clip where we hear people say, "Oh, if it makes me safe." Of course, none of these things have ever found anything. But the underwear bomber can get through because, of course, he's part of an intelligence drill gone live. Related toner terror updates. Pentagon denies report of plan for U.S. military teams in Yemen. That's from voanews.com. However, we know quite well, and you can get it from counterpunch.org, that we have been provoking and provocatoring Yemeni terrorism for about 10 years. Going back even to good old Bill Clinton. Bomb's tip-off came from former Al-Qaeda member. And you should know that Al-Qaeda means the base, the database of Mujahideen fighters that the intelligence networks use for double, triple agent, false flag, black ops. Toner bomb results in more airport molestation. They want to make you choose the scanner. Well, I don't want to get molested by some goon. I'll just go through the naked body scanner that destroys my DNA. Slow kill. TSA starts new pat-down procedure with controversy. An interesting note, and we take it from roguegovernment.com. However, its sources right back to Ynet News. Israel had been on bomb alert since Thursday, October 28th, the day before toner terror. They had been warned, they said. Minister Katz. U.S. feared mail bomb plot was coming. Saw a September dry run. That's coming from nationalterroralert.com. Which reminds me, I should check and see if they've defriended me on Facebook for asking too many uncomfortable questions about all the latest threataganda they post about. Qantas Airbus A380 made an emergency landing in Singapore after engine fails. Then, yesterday, another mid-air drama for Qantas as a passenger suffered a heart attack. And now we have the latest event that was on the top of Google News that's now shifted down. 2 years later, Mumbai terror attacks still cast shadows. They're now pimping, of course, because Barry Soetoro is landing. 68 to be believed killed in a Cuban plane crash. And we close out all this air drama, and we'll just tell you about it. And again, you got to go check it out yourself, and you have to see the photos. Man in disguise boards international flight. If you see the photos, he looked like an elderly man. It's something straight out of ILM or something. He got on the flight, then he went in the bathroom, ripped the makeup off. He's a young Asian guy. I believe the story is he wants refugee status. But another fascinating story that again shows the incompetence angle. That, oh gosh, we just can't seem to catch these things. Give us more control. Give us more power. Next time we won't screw up, we swear. Now what we're going to do is shift into 2 weeks worth of news purge. If you think one's unbelievable enough, let's put 2 together. Last week's, the 1028 news purge, we called Red Right Hand. That was our opening track last week to cover the Nick Cave song from Arctic Monkeys. This week's called Watch the World Argue with Itself, taken from our opening track from NXS, Dancing on the Jetty, for the 11/4 news purge. We're going to smush them together and put all those updates together and again blast through all this. And we'll take it from 9/11 updates. And we'll note that buildingwhat.org and their television ad aired all over New York City on Election Day, getting people to ask the question, building what? Building 7. John Hankey has a new project. 9/11 blogger getting into it on 9/11 and the JFK connection. Of course, John Hankey is the director of JFK 2, The Bush Connection, as well as the assassination of JFK Jr. His new project is thedarklegacy.com. And again, as CorberReport.com noted just a few weeks ago, if you've not seen JFK 2, The Bush Connection, you must. It takes pretty much just from 63 to the new millennium. Redacted news, as I get redacted. Redacted news reporting on 911blogger.com being accused of working for the other side. This ties in with their battles with the CIT, the Citizen Investigation Team. And I'll just reiterate that I don't feel like we have time to argue with other folks in the independent alternative media. If you don't like people's work, maybe just don't talk about it. Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe I'm being Pollyannish. But I don't think we have time to attack each other. Roseanne Barr comes out bigger and louder for 9/11 Truth. And we get that seemingly keeps coming out of this massive FOIA data dump from International Center for 9/11 Studies, and you can check all these out at youtube.com/IC911 Studies. New uncovered 9/11 footage shows FBI director asking firefighters about secondary hits on the World Trade Center. Chomsky admits no evidence Al-Qaeda carried out 9/11. That is from Press TV, and it just seems like it's just kind of a quick mention. However, we want to remind folks he's come out quite vehemently against those crazy 9/11 conspiracy theorists. But as we note, 9/11 Truth ends wars, ends the left-right paradigm. ActivistPost.com calling out so-called alternative media sites who aren't covering 9/11 news. Kevin Ryan has a new piece on 9/11 and the national debt. Again, we just can't afford this. And company accuses medical examiner's office of stealing 9/11 secrets. That fascinating story straight out of Manhattan from CBS.